Hello and welcome back to the podcast We Are Selling, brought to you by Realtair, the creators of Pitch, Sign and Sell. It's 2024. We have arrived. It's a new year, a brand new focus, and I couldn't get a greater guest to join me today, an icon of the Australian real estate industry in coaching, presenting, presented at ARIC many times, even hosted ARIC and done many of his own training programs for many years. Please welcome Mr. Mike Shegold.
G'day, Lee. Hey, great to be here, sharing some insights and strategies as we head into 2024.
And we get to be here together, coach to coach, out to the industry. Here we go.
Yeah, so good. And look, Lee, from a distance and not that far, I think, you and I started at a very, very similar time in terms of the whole learning and development. And it's exciting to see the journey that you've been on and the difference you've made to the profession. So I just want to really acknowledge the energy and effort that you put in over literally decades to support the profession.
Well, thank you. And back to you. You were my first gig ever, Michael. I remember going down to a coffee shop in Surrey Hills, meeting yourself and John McGrath, the royalty of real estate. And obviously you were very heavy in coaching John at that time. I think it was called Business Fitness. And you asked me if I'd do a segment on that. That was a big program that you were running back then. But just for our listeners that don't know you, Michael, give us some of your background.
Ooh la la. So, it's interesting when I say, how familiar are you with Shegold and what he does? It's like, I'm just assume everyone knows. So, now in decade number 3 of coaching. So, yes, Lee, I look too young to be in that particular mode. And in that time frame, we're now sitting around 15,000 coaching sessions in real estate. So, yes, I do a little bit of work outside of real estate, but the main work I do is within real estate, Australia, New Zealand, and the US. And it is all about helping real estate professionals be the best version they could possibly be. So unlocking their true potential and seeing the ability for them to deliver an even stronger CX, client experience, and also build a team experience, whether it's an agent team or an overall entrepreneur, leader of a business wanting to create something pretty amazing for their business. And, we've got the Business of Real Estate conference that happens annually. We've got Real Estate Results Network, and then also some business accelerator programs, all designed to help entrepreneurial leaders deliver the best result possible.
Well, Michael, you've definitely done that, and 3 decades of coaching and training. You could write the book, What I've Learned, What I've Seen, because it's just incredible. And that taps into our topic today beautifully. We've just come back. It's 2024. Mike, what are you guiding your people out there to be very conscious of in starting this year out to finish it really strong?
Well, Lee, one of the things that we have, and in NLP speak, there's something called a contextual marker. So a contextual marker is a new bambino comes on the scene within a family. Someone passes away in a family. It's a contextual marker. It marks the context of this was before, this was after. The natural contextual marker for us as human beings is the start of a new year. And whether it's, call it New Year's resolutions or not, it's actually about what is it that you're going to set up for a new year with new focus. And, a bit of a mantra of mine is new year, new focus. So what does your new year look like, and what does the new focus going to really unravel and support you moving into in a super effective way? So, I love doing a checkup from the neck up. So, what's happening in terms of your mindset? And there's no question about it. I think we've all seen the new rookie agent come into a very experienced team. The new team member is given a listing that will never sell in a gazillion years. Of course, what do they do in the first 2 weeks? They sell it, and like beginner's luck and all those sorts of things. What they brought to that is a boundless amount of energy. And we know, Lee, the number one thing people buy off us is our energy. So it's the ability for someone to do that firstly, check up from the neck up. And if someone is struggling and saying, what, I'm not feeling it, I'm not, in that mojo mode, I would find someone that's a little bit further down the track that an agent really respects or a leader really respects and say, hey, can I grab a cup of coffee? Can I actually have a chat with you? How do you think about your business? Before we get to doing about the business, how do you think about your business? What's your approach to your clients? What's your approach to how you set up your ideal week in a way that's going to deliver the best result possible? So that'd be the first thing in terms of, new year, new focus. What's my mindset all about, and sort of like I'm doing the head sort of chunking here. It's about how do you actually capitalize on that.
And Michael, this is such a valid point because your mental state, and I think over the last 5 years, everyone's experienced so many different things and probably learnt more about themselves than ever. And I know myself, and you would experience this because we're in the same profession. Sometimes people come to training because they're about to get out. They've given up. They're like, I've just had it, but I'm going to go to that course anyway. It's not going to help me, but I'm going to go. Yeah. And they come up at the end of it and they go, you know what? This has just saved me. And it's just being in a room with different thinking people, and they're thinking, but this is all the way it is, and fees, and everyone's always ripping you off in fees. And then someone's saying, oh, I just learnt this new technique and it's working amazing. And it's like, your energy shift is there. But as you just quite rightly said there, get around somebody else who's not feeling that and maybe have a taste of what they're doing and thinking. And that could be that shift of focus for you.
Yeah, 100%. And Lee, I think your point's super valid that, you know, a lot of people made a lot of money during the COVID years. Yes, there's been less volume in the market over the last couple of years, but I think it's fair to say that no one is feeling, you know, fist pump. That, you know, that's sort of a fairly across the board. So it's been a slog in, you know, for the last 4 or 5 years in different ways. And I think 2024 is that sort of, you know, new year, new focus, and you want to sort of bring that new energy, almost that new business energy into 2024 in a way that you go like, bang, here we go, let's rock and roll with this.
What's your second part of this, Michael?
In my opinion, that in the Australia and New Zealand marketplace, an agent will never outperform their ability to list property. So listing property is the core skill. The core activity is lead generation, but the core skill is their ability to list property. So if I put myself in a position to list a property, I want to make sure I walk away 75% of the time with a win. So out of 4 listing appointments, I'm winning 3 out of 4, or better, by the way. So I would be suggesting to the team, and this might sound counterintuitive, to do a 2025 release in 2024 of their listing appointment. So, you know, think of iPhone, think of Samsung, think of, you know, here's our new version, here's the new Google Pixel that's come out that's got the best, So rather than going like, well, okay, I'm taking my 2023 listing appointment, I'm dragging it into 2024, I would like to be thinking, well, what would a 2025 listing appointment look like? That means that when I ask for a fee, or I suggest here's the fee, the client says, gee, that's cheap compared to the value you're actually providing. And this is all about what the storytelling and how someone relays this at a listing appointment. You know, I do a lot of listing critiques where, you know, someone takes a video of their listing appointment and then sends it through. I do a report on that and then go back to them with a coaching session to say, here are the tweaks that you can put in place. And look, there's one particular client I'm thinking of. He added $250K to his earning potential, not by more opportunities, but by, and he had the ingredients there. He was just baking the cake the wrong way. So the way I describe that, Lee, is if you put the eggs in after you take the cake out of the oven, it ain't going to be such a great cake. You've got to put the eggs in at the right time. So it's getting the syntax, the order and the flow of a listing appointment working remarkably well. When it does, bang, great things happen.
Couldn't agree more. And what's important about this point is the listing conversation is absolutely everything, who you are and who you're not. And I think it's an executive summary. It's like a mini version life story of your ability of you in real estate, not personal, and how you do approach things. What staged marketing will you use? Why you stage the marketing? And Michael, on this point, I've just come off the Advanced Listing Workshop Tour, and that happens every year and people come through it. But it was amazing this year to see the fear around fees and people who, well, if you fear something, the consumer's going to pick up on that. You know, it's that business energy that we talk about. To be proud of your fees and deliver those fees first, don't let the owner say, so what are your fees? Like, bring that up first. Makes such a difference on the impact of what you're providing as value. But if you're hiding behind something or hoping it doesn't pop up, people need to know what the changeover costs are going to be. They're trying to make a a decision. It shouldn't be a secret Santa moment to find out what the fees are.
I totally agree. And, the other thing that I often relay is that if you and I go and buy tyres, the one intelligent question we're going to ask around tyres is how much are the tyres? So naturally the tyre retailer thinks we're a price-based buyer. No, it's the only intelligent question we can ask. We don't go and ask, can you tell me the difference between the tread compound between the Goodyear, the Michelin and the Bridgestone? And what's happening with Yokohama in terms of production tyres. So we just ask how much, and they naturally assume we're a price-based buyer. So similarly, I think for a lot of agents, they get caught in this particular mode. And look, if have got an energy that I hope they don't bring up fees, I hope they don't bring up fees, I hope they don't have an issue with fees, we're manifesting it. So you've got to shift it from I hope they don't to I hope they do, because I've got the dialogue, I've got the strategies in my toolkit ready to rock and roll. It should not be a surprise that someone has an issue with fees. It's just a matter of how do you present that in a way that they go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay, I feel comfortable with that now. Let's go ahead and make it happen.
Excellent information, and just this one point could have such a difference or an impact on your year. And Michael, just something I want to bring to the industry's attention. Quite often the challenge with fees or this fear of fees is actually directly related to the agents saying how easy it is to sell real estate. Oh, it went first day, full price straight away. Oh, went 150 grand over the reserve in the second week. We actually send the wrong signals, yet the truth of it behind the scenes is no matter who's selling real estate, there's like 138 actions that got to happen. You're on 24/7 because an offer might come in from overseas. We work as an industry incredibly hard to get this result, yet we project that it's easy and there's nothing to it. And that is what counteracts where the owner thinks, well, why do you get paid so much if you only do that and it's only a day or so? And the owner doesn't understand what they don't understand. So we can't get cranky at the owner because when they say, oh, what are your fees? That was a question. That wasn't an objection. And just like your example of the tyres there, it's a question. It's not an objection.
Absolutely. Look, I think one of the keys, Lee, and I'm sure this is in your listing kind of system. It's definitely in mine, and that is the showcasing some complexity in the process and then delivering simplicity. So that complexity means that, hey, this is a complex gig. The bit that makes it easy is you've got a property and you want to sell it. That's easy. The bit that complicates it are the buyers and all the twists and turns that happen behind the scenes. And the reason you want to have a true professional on your team is to ensure that we get it right the first time and we truly maximize the sale price and get you the best return possible. So it's leaning into that and knowing where you're going in the listing appointment. But, as I said, is if someone can be thinking about an early release of their 2025 listing appointment, that makes a massive, massive difference to who they are and how they're operating.
And it makes you understand, how you're presenting this information, because you've got the digital introduction that will go out first, and you may be presenting in the lounge room, you may be on Zoom. My tip to everyone this year is become a Zoom ninja, because you're going to see more and more of those opportunities where you can communicate. And if you get in the lounge room, that is the best ever. That's fantastic. And then hopefully you don't need it, but the proposal at the end of it. But it's interesting you mentioned, Michael, about the complexity of something. That is a great fee justification moment when it isn't simple. There was a guy on the program only a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Capel. And Daniel's a Brazilian guy just coming to real estate from hospitality. So he's like 18 months into it. But one thing I absolutely loved in his information that went out, he had a picture of him and then he said, this is my team. And the team was head of marketing, who was head of marketing for the company, operations, and it was Dane Atherton's team. So he's got all the leadership team pictured because This is my team. But you think, wow, look at this young guy. He's got this big team behind him. And then the process of all the checklists that are involved to get the property sold was there. So it does allow the owner to know we don't just whack it on the net, someone comes to the open and someone buys it. Like 70% of the checklist is done before the first inspection.
Yeah, I think it's super valid. And, once again, that's someone playing to the advantage that what do we have within our organisation. And, once again, a fantastic exercise to do, early in the new year would be to bring your best tools, to bring your best resources, bring your best strategies that you're using at a listing appointment. Because a lot of the time, Lee, agents are utilizing those in front of clients. They're not using it in front of colleagues. So the ability to almost bring your A game, your listing A game in and have a brainstorm as a team and saying, what are the next level strategies? And, it might be something that, believe it or not, someone in the team has either used consistently or they've used inconsistently, but it's been a fantastic strategy. It's that time of sort of bringing it together, tightening this up and saying, okay, here are the 3-5 components that need to come into play. And I talk about at a listing appointment, karate chop moments. So karate chop moments is where that had impact, that had impact, that had impact, as opposed to a typical agent's listing appointment is da-da-la-da-la, da-da-la, 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 da-da-la. It's like, okay, what's happening now? I'm just in talk fest mode as opposed to impact mode. So how does this have impact? And when we build it in to have impact, all of a sudden the client goes, cha-ching, I get it, cha-ching, I get it. Wow, I hope I can afford these guys because they clearly are so much better than anyone else I've spoken with. And that's really the point around a 2025 listing release in 2024.
Couldn't agree more. And those impactful moments are the moments. Everything else is just in between that. And it's amazing we're on this topic today because it's such an important topic. And Michael, you would have seen this as well, that there's been a shift in the communication process through to the owner. So presenting to the owner was like 4 or 5 years ago, whereas today interviewing the owner is the right channel where that vendor involvement is actually there. The karate chops come in and you've got the impact. But an exercise that I've been doing of late, and I don't know why, but they've all been at the same time, is we used to have that traditional presentation that people would flick through and no one has time to take that in at the moment. And Michael, you would remember I brought out that picture board listing presentation many years ago, the storyboard. Yes. Well, the shift in communication now is you've got your digital tools, which is good, but we've been designing a lot of these leave behinds at the moment. But the leave behind isn't about the company. It isn't about you. It's an executive summary of the deliverables that I do should you decide to engage me. And you don't go through it point by point, but you say, Michael, at the end of today's meeting, I'm going to leave this with you. It's an executive summary of everything I've said, everything I'm offering. And, many agents say things, but don't always live up to the brochure. This is my plan for you, and I'd love to be representing you. But just giving them the deliverables might connect to what you were saying about, showing how complex something can be at the same time. And they've got to feel like they're getting value without being presented to.
Absolutely. And, obviously, Lee, very much in my model, it's the quality of case studies and the relevance of case studies that make that live. So, here it is in bullet point, 1, 2, 3. Let's make that live. Here's what we did for Bill and Mary. Here's what we actually put in place for the property at number 32, and one of the things the owners were really concerned about is boom, 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 boom. And here's how we address that with them. And making those case studies live. A lot of the time in my listing critiques, Lee, people think they're sharing a case study, but they're actually sharing a result. Did you see the property at Cove Street? We got a really good price for that. That's a result. That's not a case study. The case study is how do we go about it? And ultimately, the ultimate game plan for me is how do you, as you share a case study, sprinkle in some strategy so the strategy is being reinforced during a case study, during the actual sharing of it. That's next level sort of influence when we can get into that particular mode. Needs some practice to do it well, but there's no question it makes a massive difference.
Couldn't agree more. And, when you're doing a case study like that, and I like how you mentioned, sprinkle in the strategy, make sure you mention, so they'll say, oh, Lee, the result you guys got for William Street was amazing. Yeah, interesting story, that one. Bit of a fake read. When you look at the result, it just looks simple. But behind the scenes, the owners invested $12,500 in repairs on the property. They used a campaign of $7,000 to make sure we got to the right audience. So there was quite an investment that they made to get that result, yet from the outside it just looked like it sold straight away. Suddenly you've explained that we're preparing homes for sale properly. We are doing this, but within a case study, it's like a proof point that result you're talking about, this is what happened behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, in amongst all of that, when you go through and share that particular case study, look, that client would have been happy with 1.2 million, but we recognised we had one chance of doing it right. And the great news, we achieved 1.35 million. So that extra 150K doesn't actually mean that much to our agency, but it means a huge amount to the client. So we want to make sure we leave no stone unturned to ensure that you get the highest sale price possible. We have one chance to do this right.
Now, Michael, what's part 3 of this incredible tip today?
Look, the third one, Lee, is an agent's business will not outperform their lead flow. And, you know, one of the things that I would be absolutely doing right now is having a look at what have been my best sources of business in 2023 and mapping those into 2024. Is that enough to get the job done? So an example of that would be, by the way, this is not best sources of appraisals, this is best sources of listings. And the reason I say that is I've seen situations where an agent might have 30 appraisals in a particular strategy. They've generated 30 appraisals, but it's only generated 3 listings. You know, is that a good source? Then there's somewhere else where they've generated 12 appraisals and they've listed 8 properties. That's a better source. So can we turn the 12 into 24 because that will actually have a bigger impact? And maybe we start to turn down the 30 appraisals because that's keeping me busy doing a lot of work, but it's not necessarily converting into a listing. Exception to that would be is if out of those 30, there's 20 sitting in pipeline ready to actually rock and roll. So pipeline management, pipeline health equals business health for me. So, you know, I'd be doubling down on brilliant pipeline management. If you don't have brilliant pipeline management, go and chat with Lee, come and chat with me, or chat with a colleague that is further down the track in terms of pipeline management. Learn the skills to what brilliant pipeline management looks like. And then go back to, have I got enough channels to generate the listing lead flow into pipeline? And for most who are watching this, I just muscle tested that, is if you as an agent have a focus of generating 4 listing appointments and 4 opportunities into pipeline, not even listing appointments, 4 opportunities into pipeline per week, that will pretty much take care of your business growth. So you're looking for 4 opportunities. You don't have to have done appraisals with them. You don't have to have done a listing appointment. You just need to identify that this is someone who is considering making a move sometimes in the next little while. You add 4 per week, guarantee it will game change your business for 2024 and beyond.
Michael Shegold, absolutely fantastic tip. And one thing I really loved about when you were explaining that, when you said about the pipeline health and your business health, it's so interesting. But if you look at our best agents in the country, and best I'm going to use in the term of they're getting the fees they deserve. They're actually working and getting appropriate fees for the efforts they put in. The one thing they all have in common, from my observation of this, is the highest fees are achieved by the person with the biggest pipeline. Because if you're not fearful where business is going to come from, you can't actually take on a property below your value because you've got enough coming in and there's only so many you can do. So if I've got 20 people over here wanting to pay me 2.9% of the sale price, and then someone said, will you do it for 1? I can't even fit you in, let alone consider that. So that's not going to be one of the ones I work on. And this tip today has been such a great business plan for people that if you had your mental state correct, your mindset all set for the year, you do that evaluation of your listing system and make sure you're living up to that. Because that's the other thing. You've got to live up to the brochure. What are your deliverables? What are you doing? You can't just say you're good. You know, to enjoy what you do, you've got to be great at what you do. And then understanding your fee protection is going to be how many people you got in the pipeline. Michael, if they wrap that up from this session with you today, I think it's going to be a pretty good 2024.
Excellent, Lee. Hey, thanks for the opportunity to share this with your amazing audience, and congratulations on the podcast. Congratulations on putting high quality information out to the profession in a way that will help them on their journey. My big thing is unlocking someone's true potential. So thanks for allowing me to jump in and share some strategy with you.
Michael, we would love to have you back on the program in the future, and all the best for 2024. If anyone's out there and sees Michael's programs, jump in, ninja level. You'll absolutely love it. Michael Shegold, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lee. Bring it on.